Yes, at the moment the income or the total revenues do look like they are slightly better.
The consolidated revenue figure is out, so it's at 22,007 crore rupees. This is much better than what we were expecting. In fact, it was expected to be a beat this quarter, and analysts had fairly high expectation because last time around the margins were significantly higher. Even in terms of the bottom line and top line, Bharti had given a decent performance. Remember, this is from April onwards, you've seen Jio start to build their customers. So a bit of that has been factored in. So the kind of decline that they had been seeing has been tempered down. 22,007 crore rupees on the top line, better than what we were expecting. And Latha, as you were pointing out, 618 crore rupees on the bottom line, again better. The points to watch out would be the exact ARPU decline in this particular quarter. They were expecting to arrest ARPU decline in the next few quarters gradually, while the decline will continue. They were expecting to bring in some kind of a positive ARPU outlook by the second half of the year. So that will be important. Margin, any kind of movement of the margin will be important in terms of, okay, the profit attributed to owners has come in at about 367.3 crore rupees. I don't know what that quantum exactly is, but yes, that's the reason why you have seen the
Then
profits.
it looks like a largely in line with expectation number.
Exactly.
We were expecting 367, so that's not saying not much different from what was expected.
Okay, let's bring in guests while we look at all the other fine print. Naveen Kulkarni is joining in on the phone line. Naveen, what do you make? We just have two figures right now, top line and bottom line. What do you make of the numbers?
Yeah, the numbers look okay to me. The revenue number is little ahead of what we were estimating. But I guess that was to some extent expected now because Vodafone reported a decent set of numbers, reporting a 0.7% QOQ growth. So the important number for this quarter to look out will be the domestic mobility revenues and the data revenues. So these are the two numbers that we will be keenly focused on.
Okay, we're still awaiting those figures. We also have Deepal Mehta joining in. Deepal, what do you make of the numbers? 22,000 plus. Okay, we have the India figure with us. The consolidated India revenue is at 12,914 crore rupees. A beat, we were expecting 12,790 crore rupees. So India revenues much better than what we were expecting.
The Africa revenues as well. Africa revenues are 4,852 crores.
Okay.
That is
so we were
about 100 crores lower. 4925 odd crores was the Africa revenue.
Actually, everything is just a little different from what, I mean, 21,975 is just about 25 crore less than the 22,000 they have done. So overall revenues is higher than expectation by about 25 crores. Otherwise, largely in line, it's a
mixed bag. It seems to be in line on most count. Deepal, coming over here, you heard Prashant point out the Africa revenues slightly lower than what we were expecting. India revenues seem to be a beat.
Yeah, I think more or less in line performance from Bharti Airtel, and if the stock were in fact to appreciate or trade in the positive on next few days or so, I think it's a good opportunity to exit out of the stock. We all know the kind of disruption which is taking place in the telecom industry, and I think profitability is going to remain under stress for many quarters. So we have a very negative outlook on the entire telecom industry, and no doubt these numbers may be more or less in line because expectations were also low. But there's even more disruption coming ahead for the industry and the company per se. So I would like to advise nil to sort of negative position in Bharti Airtel for the time being.
Okay, I'm just pulling up some of the other details. While I do that, a quick word on the Africa revenues. We were expecting, in fact, if you remember last time, the margin decline in Africa was arrested, and that was one of the reasons why we'd seen a growth on the overall figures. Do you expect Africa to continue to struggle for the next few quarters?
So I think it's difficult to say at this point of time, and And one would like to just get a bit more deeper into the numbers and what exactly were the dynamics in the African business. And that could be a bit of a savior for Bharti Airtel, and there are opportunities to unlock value over there as well. And the company has been trying to do so for the past several quarters or so. But end of the day, I think Bharti is a complex company, and we just need some more time to understand the numbers and see what the management is saying before forming an opinion exactly on what has gone right for the company and where the challenges are.
Okay, Africa EBITDA margin has come in at 28%. That's better than what we were expecting. We are expecting 27%. I don't know what has led to the margin increase, but I have the basic figures with me. Deepan, come in over here. What would be the reason why we've seen a 28%? We were expecting, last time it was 25.9%. We were expecting anywhere between 27 to 27.5%. What do you think has led to the increase as far as margins are concerned?
See, I think the management has been trying to really curtail the costs in the African business and trying to get the operating leverages going. I think that was the premise on which they bought the African business, that they could replicate the success in India, what they had succeeded in India in the African continent, and they've had limited success over there. But the strategy remains in place to reduce the cost, offer low cost services, and try and grow the revenue. And I think that strategy has taken a bit longer to play out, but maybe finally seeing some amount of success over there. So I think that that could be a bit of a bright spot in this quarter's numbers, and considering that it's not impacted so much by what is happening in the domestic telecom industry, investors could keep that perspective in mind. But as I said, I think overall the outlook for Bharti Airtel Idea remains quite negative at this point of time, and clearly I think the pressure on margins, the pressure on growing revenues, declining RPUs, I think is going to impact the performance over there. And there are so many better ideas elsewhere within other sectors that I think telecom could be given a miss by investors.
Let me just quickly point out some of the comments coming in from the management. Gopal Vittal says that the pricing distribution in the Indian telecom market caused by the entry of a new operator continued, with industry revenues declining over 15% year-on-year, creating further stress on sector profitability, cash flow and leverage. Consequently, our revenues declined 10% and EBITDA margin eroded by 5.3% on a year-on-year basis. We remain committed to providing the best value. Couple of other points to
point. There is a bit of foreign currency translation which has given them a little bit of profit. It's about 25 crores, so that perhaps also has added a little bit.
I mean, if you look at the India P&L, so what they do is they give the mobile, Africa mobile revenue, Africa mobile pad, India mobile revenue, India mobile pad, etc. But there's also the standalone financial statement which is given out, which includes not just mobile but all other segments in India in which Bharti operates in. So for a comprehensive India view, you need to look at that. And I mean, if you look at that, the profit has come in at about 280 crores. This compares to a year-on-year figure of 1427 crores. So, I mean, we're talking about June 30, 2017 compared to June 30, 2016. Revenues have also come off quite sharply. I mean, 14,558 crores compared to 16,389 crores. This is just the total India business numbers that I'm talking about, which I think is what people would be looking at closely as well. So, yeah, Kritika, go on.
The overall margins have come in at 35.6%. We were expecting 34.3%. So it's a decent figure as far as margins are concerned. Prashant, do you have the India margin with you? We have the breakup as far as Africa margins and consolidated margins are concerned.
I don't have it right now, Kritika. I'll have just to calculate it. But
let's bring in Amrish till then. Yeah. Amrish, margins seem to be better. And this is actually, if I take Africa, this is the 6th straight quarter of Africa margins coming in better than what we were expecting. Even in the consolidated basis, this is the 3rd quarter that we've seen margins coming in better than expectations. What do you make of this numbers?
See, I mean, first of all, I don't think Africa is a major worry. I think the major worry for Bharti going ahead is for the India business. Yeah. And like I was talking in the afternoon show, that possibly in this quarter they may beat on the margin front as compared to expectations, so which they have done. But I think beating the margins, like the expectations going ahead, I think would be difficult, because especially the next at least 3 to 4 quarters seems difficult after what Jio has announced. So I think this problem for the other telecom companies is going to continue. I'm not, because of which I'm not too bullish on the telecom companies. And since Bharti has already moved up recently well, I think people should utilize this opportunity.
Okay, just for the viewers that are just joining in, on the top line, Bharti has seen a beat. It's 22,007 crore rupees. Bottom line also aided by a one-off figure. They've seen a beat of about roughly about 200 crore rupees. So around 608 crore rupees is the PAT figure. Margins much better than expected at 35.6%. We are expecting margins to come in at 34.3%. Africa business, prima facie, the margins are better than expectation, but there has been a miss of 100 crore rupees on the top line. But India business seems to be better than expected. Naveen, come in here. How do you expect the stock to react tomorrow?
Yeah, so I believe the stock should be more or less positive tomorrow because the revenue, there is a beat of around 1.2%, and again EBITDA number looks fairly decent. So I believe the stock should react more or less positive. The stock has run up a little bit because of other news flow. Otherwise, these are pretty solid set of numbers for the company.
Naveen, what do you make of the India business? India business revenue decline is expected to continue in the near term. By when do you expect that to at least reach a flattish figure?
So on a sequential basis, if you look at it, there is a growth in this quarter. So Q2 is typically a seasonally weak quarter, so there might be some decline in revenue. But Q3 onwards, we should see again a pickup in revenues happening because that is again a seasonally strong quarter, Q3 and Q4.
By Q2?
Q2 is seasonally weaker quarter. Q3 we should start seeing a pickup in revenues.
Deepan, same point to you. By when do you expect India revenues to start picking up?
I think it's difficult to say at this point of time. I think there's so much of disruption happening within the telecom industry, and then there's a merger between Vodafone and Idea also, and then post that merger, what their strategy for the Indian subcontinent is going to be, that also is quite one has to consider that aspect as well. So given that there's a lot of disruption, so much of uncertainty within the sector, I think making any estimates about revenues, volumes or yields doesn't make sense at this point of time. All that we can say is that there is pressure across the board within the sector, and the industry needs to be avoided from an investment perspective.
Deepan, you were asking for the mobile data revenues. Consolidated mobile data revenues have come in at 3,765 crore rupees. They've given the year-on-year figure that's down about 16.8%. I'm just checking for the quarter-on-quarter figure. But what do you make of the data revenues? Again, smaller portion, but they're depending on this for future growth.
Yeah, I think, and that's going to be under pressure going forward, given the kind of new plans which are coming in from the new telecom operator, as well as existing operators also trying to protect their turf by cutting prices over there. The major problem with the industry is that there is not that much of a brand pull per se, and everything is dependent upon the pricing. And when it's the pricing which is driving the growth, pricing which is driving the subscriber, then that's not a very good industry from an investment perspective to be in. So while the companies will keep on reporting numbers, which may appear to be good in one quarter, but may easily turn on in the next quarter, with this kind of uncertainty, I think it's best to avoid the sector completely. And we would like to analyze it deeper, but end of the day, I think, as I said, far too much disruption to make any sense out of any long-term trend in the industry.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in. Latha, quick word before we wrap. The net debt has also come down in this quarter. So what they have said is that the net debt, excluding the deferred payment liabilities to the Department of Telecom and Finance lease obligation, has decreased by 4,633 crore rupees on a sequential basis, which is a positive. Last 2 quarters, they've been bringing it down roughly 1,500, 2,000. So that's a bit of a relief. But all in all, prima facie looks like a decent set of numbers in line with expectation. A miss on only some of the parameters.
Yes, kudos to anyone who can read through 56 pages of a release, earnings release.